lot of stuff on the table today. Look at that, we got your green juice. Just clean it up, perfect. Quoting a job. That's what we're talking about today, but this is when you're quoting without creative. Sometimes a client comes to you and they say, hey, I want a video, but they don't know what they want. So we have professional producer Jackie Powell here. She's worked on probably hundreds of commercials at this point, ranging from budgets in the millions down to the tiny little ones like I work on often.
Done them all.
Done them all. But there's a series of questions that Jackie goes through in order to ascertain what the client actually wants to make. And this is so important because it's really easy when someone comes along and says, hey, I want a video, for you to just say, okay, it's 10 grand.
Okay, I'm panicking.
And then you throw a number out there and then suddenly you're in a mess when you're on set because you don't have enough money or their expectations are not aligning with what you're able to produce. So we're gonna go through all of these questions. We'll put them up right now. We're gonna break them down, how they affect the budget and why Jackie asks them. So let's jump into this. These are gonna be your guide to be able to answer what the heck your client actually wants to make and how much it's gonna cost. The first question you told me that you asked is, in one sentence, what is it that you're trying to communicate? And so why do you get them to ask that?
Well, let me give you an example. I actually had a client recently who, when I asked that question, they said to me, we want our audience to know that we're actually a global brand. They think of us as just a Canadian brand. So right away, I'm like, this is gonna impact the budget. We're probably gonna have to fly crew out, rent equipment at different exchange rates, deal with carnets, like all these things that are gonna start to balloon the budget that typically you wouldn't have if you were shooting locally. So I would say right away, like that's a really great question to assess your budget, but also for me, it's about creative too. So we'll go through that with a series of other questions of how we get to the creative, but your client has a lot of priorities. They have a lot of things they're trying to achieve, and you want to get to the root of what they're trying to get to, because you might find out that actually they just need a couple little videos for what they want to do versus a big brand film.
The next question you ask, and I'm familiar with this one because it's what we teach often in AOD, is what is the key problem we are solving? And this helps kind of direct the client to get more specific to what the video is doing. So why do you follow up with that question? What's that actually finding out?
Yeah, well, that's finding out the immediacy and also what audience I'm potentially speaking to. So I'll give you an example. I had a client recently who had a brand that they weren't necessarily ready to rebrand on, but they did want to get a new demographic.
Okay.
So I knew that right away, we're probably not going to be shooting a big brand film. We want something that's a little bit stickier, that younger demographic would find that. So maybe a stunt, or maybe we're doing some kind of crazy influencer campaign. So that's allowing me to already see how I'm gonna have to break out my budget. Doing a stunt versus a brand film is a very different way to scope.
And can you tell me what you mean by stunt? Is that just like a one-off, or are we actually sending someone through a window that's gonna break open?
Probably a most common one that you might remember from the past was like those dance mobs. I'd say that was like the early days of like stunt marketing in that way, where it's really trying to throw an audience completely off.
The amount of times I've gone grocery shopping, and the next thing I know, I'm in a flash mob. The next question, Jackie, is why now?
So I'll ask it at two different phases. So if we are doing creative, the why now is so important for informing ultimately like what territories we're gonna develop to present to the clients. When I'm asking in regards to budget, it's really about, how fast do we need to get this done? And we all know the iron triangle, good, fast, and cheap, right? So in this case, I'm trying to figure out like if they need to get this done really fast and it needs to be good, it's gonna cost a lot of money.
I think why now is also important too, because sometimes they might say, well, this is our winter collection and it's the middle of October, and you're like, well, this is gonna happen next month.
That's a great one from like, let's say, like needing to shoot where there isn't like the weather that you need.
I was just about to say, I quoted on a Quaker commercial once that I was pitching on, and unfortunately went away. But we were about to go down to Argentina to shoot it because it was the middle of winter in Canada. Now I think we just do that with VR walls often.
We're just doing it all.
Yeah, exactly. We did that. We broke that down in our Cinepath Pro course. Nick showed a whole thing where he was doing a barbecue commercial with a VR wall in the middle of winter. And you can kind of get away with that now.
You can, but actually a lot of clients are going back to location again.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
Interesting. That's for our podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, one thing I realized when I sit down with Jackie for any period of time is that I'm not a film producer, that she has way more experience and knowledge than me. She's traveled across the world producing commercials and projects with huge budgets, but she always is able to deliver it on time and under budget, which is why we have teamed up with her in the Art of Documentary to release our very first producing course. This is the Art of Documentary Producing Foundation. This is the complete roadmap for film producers, whether you're working on short documentaries, commercials, or even short films. Jackie's gonna gonna break open her budgets, her spreadsheets, show you all that unseen knowledge that you can't find anywhere else. This is an incredible course that's over 40 videos, and plus we'll have direct feedback hours calls where you'll be able to bring your projects and get questions answered directly from Jackie. And if you join this course, you get to be a part of the Art of Documentary community, which means you'll have access to our Facebook group where there's job postings, connections with other filmmakers. You've got to be part of AOD meetups and hangs, our monthly industry expert calls. This is where we bring in people like Academy Award-winning directors. There is no community in the world for filmmakers like Art of Documentary, and we cannot wait to see people take huge strides forward in their career with our Producing Foundations course releasing this September. So if you want more information about this, get onto our email list. We'll put it down below. Our Producing Foundations course is one of many courses part of Art of Documentary. Now there is a limited amount of seats for each one of these courses. So if you want to be part of that early registration and make sure that you can get in, we are opening that up this Wednesday, so you can join that link down below. We're gonna rip through these other questions. Who is the audience? Why do you want to know that?
Well, I want to know that for a few reasons. I think the first and most important reason of why I want to know who we're speaking to is like the style of what we're creating and who's going to be digesting that. And you have to know your audience. The audience, especially now, because they're consuming so much media all the time, they're super smart. They're very savvy, and there's not a lot you can get away with. So you need to know, like, are you trying to create something that is maybe this big cinematic piece, or maybe something that's just kind of a little bit more run and gun?
Yeah.
And that's why I'd ask our audience, because that really does help inform the budgeting and also like the creative. The other great thing about asking these questions, and even early when you don't have the creative, is that when you do have the creative, you have all this information, so you don't have to go back. You already know how to fully start to develop what this is gonna cost and the best way to do it possible.
Next question for our clients. This is kind of the DP question. Tone and style. What do you want it to feel and look like?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's not even a DP. It really is. A producer needs to know that. So is it cinematic? Is it comedic? Is it meant to feel more like a documentary? Do you want it more corporate? Like, this is going to really inform how you're budgeting this and what you actually need to be able to achieve those things. I also actually asked them, Mark, to send me a reference of a video.
Great.
And sometimes that might throw things completely off track, but most of the times if you ask the right questions, it's gonna get you to the right budget that's gonna protect you all the way through the production.
Well, let's talk about the reference videos. So if they don't know their tone or style, or they start referencing like, oh, we want this to feel like a Nike ad. So you're like, okay, go find one or two videos.
Yeah.
What happens when they bring you a $10 million reference video? What do you do from that? You don't want to just say, well, we can't make that, because that's not creative and collaborative, and it kind of ruins the vibe.
I try to be like a little bit of like a detective.
Okay.
Right? It's like a detective meets therapist. It's like really kind of dissecting what it is that they like by asking a series of questions related to that video. I get this all the time, and I have no doubt for a lot of you who are watching, you have probably had a lot of clients send you a video and it's freaked you out because you're like, oh my God, they're gonna expect that I do something like this, and they don't have the money for this. It's like, hold on. What you're seeing and what you're interpreting of what they like might be completely off. Let me give you an example from a recent job where we were pitching and presenting other creative, and we asked them to send us some references before we even got into the creative. And they sent us this Volvo spot. Absolutely stunning, like award-winning, probably, I have no doubt, like $2.5 million production value, 3 minutes in length, really just like beautiful multi-locations, multi-talents, like children, elderly, like they had it all. And I'm thinking, I know what your budget is. You can achieve this, but let me get to the root of what you want to get to. So the first thing I asked them is that, what is it that they like about this? They might say like, well, I like that it's like really beautifully shot. Or they might say like, oh, I like that the talent, they seem to really be real, like someone that you can relate to. And already I'm thinking, okay, so maybe what they like about this is that they actually want something where it feels like real people. Maybe it's real people that they want to get to. So what I actually see when they say that they like that the people feel real is that maybe what they want here isn't actually a big $2.5 million spot. It's actually, they want real people. So it's really important just to like get them to send you that example and just spend time. Don't throw it away. Don't say, I can't do this. Don't shut them down. Educate them, like really dig in and find out like, what is it about this that makes them tick?
Now, Jack, we're getting into some really practical questions here that you like to ask, like what are the deliverables?
Yeah, you cannot scope a job if you don't know the deliverables. You just can't. So I've had many situations where a client will say, we just want like a 30-second video Perfect, great. Go along the process, find out they actually need 15s and 6s, and it needs to be for
and
social, French and English. Don't forget French.
Yeah.
And that changes the job completely. So I always make sure to have, what are our deliverables? What are the links? What are the ratios, i.e. 9:16, 1:1, 16:9? Are there any other languages that we need to consider? Are there very special deliverables? Are there different supers?
Wow.
Are these super lists? Like, I will go through and break down all of it because that is going to impact your bottom line. You're gonna bring an editor on and they're gonna say, hey, like you just said it was like 6 deliverables. This is like 48. What happened here?
I've been there with an editor. They're like, hey, I'm charging you more. Nothing's worse than when you've told a client how much something costs and then you come back to ask for more money.
There's nothing they hate more.
Yeah, there's nothing they hate more.
Yeah.
Next, what is our timeline? I mean, that's pretty simple. You just need to know, again, back to the iron triangle, like how quickly do they need this delivered?
Exactly. And that is going to impact costs. Do you need to bring more crew on? Do you have to put 2 editors on this job to get it out? So yes, typically good and fast is going to cost more money, but it's also just like for you to be able to organize the most efficient way of how you're going to schedule, which will also make sure that you're hiring the right people as well.
This next question, we kind of covered this, but where is this living? And what we mean by that is it going to be a media buy?
Yeah.
Is it organic like that? How does that impact your budget? Like, are you responsible for the media buy?
No. The producer is rarely responsible for the media buy. And even if you are going direct to client, typically they'll have someone in there who's deciding where it wants to live. But I will say more than not, clients actually don't even have their media plan until halfway through the job.
Really?
So I like to ask this so that they start thinking about it, again, to get to that place where we know what our deliverables are and that we are creating ultimately the right type of project so that when that media plan does come in play, they have what they need.
Your next question, I've never asked this, but it makes so much sense now, is are there any other decision makers on this project besides you, the person you're speaking with?
Yes.
Well, how will that impact budget?
Yeah. Do not forget to ask this question. I think a lot when you're trying to get a job, you're just so eager to land the job that you think you just need to get the typical kind of questions, which is like, what are we making and how many? And like, what's your timeline? That's just a starting place. This question is really important because it is going to impact how much of your crew you need or how much time your editor might need. So I've had a lot in the past where, a client has said, yes, we approve, great. And then we move on and we find out actually there was someone above them that needed to have a decision. And then we're going all the way back. Now I'm paying double, on crew that I've already hired, maybe a writer that I brought on, maybe a producer who now has to work an extra week. So these are questions that you need to ask and make sure that you understand what that pecking order is because you want to build in that time and also build in the efficiency for yourself if you have to go backwards.
And a thing I'll mention about that is the higher the person is up in the company, typically the slower their feedback will come.
Oh my God, yes,
Yeah.
so slow.
If you find out the president of marketing needs to get approval on your 30-second spot, chances are you're gonna send a rough cut out and you're gonna wait a week.
Yeah,
it's what happens in these bigger companies. Last question here, but as we mentioned, you ask lots of questions,
yeah.
but these are your kind of key core questions.
Yeah, these are the nuts and bolts.
This one will screw you over, and that's, are there branding watch out elements? Is there anything, any parameters, anything we need to be aware of? I totally overlooked this once where it was a car commercial, but it was like documentary style, and we were told on the day you can't show any other cars. So then it was like suddenly like all of our location scouting, all of our angles had to shift, and so this is a really important question to be asking.
It's so important. It really depends on what brand you're working with. I've worked with Pepsi, and Pepsi was so sensitive about any kind of red color being anywhere, even if the locations we are on, naturally have some kind of red hue. Like, we had to be always on the watch for that, and that is going to dictate your location scouting. Yeah. Clients can be very picky and very particular about their brands and be a lot of sensitivities. I just want to make sure that you guys don't be afraid to ask questions. Yeah. And if anything, it actually makes you look better to your client. They see you as well informed. They see you as more professional,
and that you care.
And that you care. Yeah, the most important, that you actually care.
That you want the best project from them, and it's going to help them start thinking about things. And people love talking about the project they're working on.
Yeah, they do.
Because the worst thing you can do is just get in there and just suddenly start telling them what they need before you've actually ascertained any of these questions. Because you're probably going to be off the mark. And two, it doesn't seem like you've actually listened to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Get asking those questions. This is Jackie. She's going to be teaching our Producing Foundations course in AOD. If you want to save your spot, we have a link down below. She's a producer extraordinaire. We have dozens and dozens of videos in that course going through the full foundations of producing. And we're going to be showing her projects, actually giving you some of the budget templates, pulling apart everything that she's done as a producer. We've been loving this course because holy crap, have me and Michael been learning along the way alongside you. It's really great. You're an incredible teacher and have an incredible resource of all the experience that you've pulled from. So thank you, Jackie.
Thank you. I hope I get to see some of you there.
Yeah, exactly. Leave a comment below if you
Have a question.
Yeah. Or if
you just want to give me lots of compliments.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. See you in the next one.
Bye, guys.